Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Duff and Heskey.
All right, John Giles is on the line to reflect on a busy week in the League Cup and in the FA Cup. How are you keeping, John?
Good, Nathan, thank you.
I know you've been watching a lot of football over the last couple of days, so we might start with what happened last night, the Manchester derby. United won the battle, but City ultimately won the war and are heading back to a League Cup final again. Interesting performance from both sides, though. For Manchester City, first of all, even though they do go through another defeat, Kevin De Bruyne said after the game, I can't really comprehend how we lost that match. For me, United didn't even have one chance today. I think we got sloppy. Are they ignoring the realities of what happened in the game, or is there a degree of truth in that?
Yeah, it's very hard to get the truth from a player immediately after a match, Nathan. The fact is, the reason they lost the goal was because they defended badly from the free kick. I think they did have chances to finish the tie off, but didn't take them. And again, it goes back to defending. I mean, from the rest of the match, after Matic scored, you could hear the worry in the City supporters every time Manchester United got the ball, because they're so poor at the back, Nathan, you know. But they did have chances, right enough. But Manchester United didn't have many chances. There was a spirited performance from Manchester United. But it was one of those might-have-beens for Man U.
Yeah. On the sloppiness...
Not good enough to do it, really, United on the night.
On the sloppiness side of things for Manchester City, I think this seems to have been a common thread throughout the season. You think of that David Silva chance where the ball comes to him, he's 7-8 yards out, he has to shoot, you think, and for some reason he passes the ball back inside, Gundogan takes an extra touch, United get him back, and there was 3 or 4 occasions where they just overplayed it. That sloppiness wasn't there last season. They were winning Cup semi-finals 9-0 last season against lesser opposition. They didn't take their foot off the gas. Why do you think on a night like that, in a Manchester derby, a Cup semi-final, how's their sloppiness?
Well, I don't think they took their foot off the gas, Nathan. Sloppy, yes, and bad passing, balls by another play that they haven't been and didn't do last year. But again, they're a different side than they were last year, Nathan, in a big way. I mean, last year when the opposition had the ball, they hounded them down. Now, they did that in the first 15 minutes yesterday. And then they didn't do it anymore. That's 50% of their game. So, and some of the passing wasn't good. It was a bit sloppy. I mean, I think the one you're referring to around the goal with the players, David Silva should have had a shot on that. But that's the type of thing they've done for the last few seasons, where they have and finished up scoring. Nathan, they weren't at the best. They haven't been at the best at all this year. I mean, De Bruyne played better last night. He hasn't been playing well. I thought Sterling, for the last 4 or 5 matches I've seen him, has been terrible, Nathan. So, you know, they got away. I mean, Manchester United weren't good enough last night, not really, to take advantage of a poor performance by Manchester City.
What do you put Sterling's lack of form down to? Is it just that he's going through a spell where things aren't coming off for him, or is there something greater going on?
Well, I don't know, Nathan. I'm only telling you as I see it. But he's too lackadaisical from my point of view. Like, he wasn't chasing back last night. And the amount of times he gave the ball away, not last night, the last 4 or 5 matches, he's been doing it. And, you know, he was responsible, I think, for that particular effort when they got through last night. Do you remember he got through first?
Yeah.
You know, like a few weeks ago, he was finishing them off. But he hasn't been, I don't think he's been up to it at all in the last few matches. And Manchester City generally this season haven't been up for it in a way that they were last season. There's no doubt about it. Now, they have lost players. You know, Fernandes lost from the middle of the field. We had Kompany in. David Silva is not the player he was. De Bruyne hasn't played as well. So if you're looking for reasons, they're the reasons I would give you for Manchester City not doing as well as they did and didn't play as well as they did last season.
Does it just show how great a leader, how great an on-pitch leader Vincent Kompanys was? I know everyone had a certain understanding and appreciation of how pivotal he was to what Manchester City tried to do over the last decade or so. But who is the replacement? Has anybody stepped up in his absence to be the real on-pitch leader of that team?
No, especially at the back, Nathan. You know, you've got Otamendi, Stone. Like, they're always liable to give something away. And they have been given things away. Even from the free kick last night was bad marking. But over the matches, I think that's why you could actually hear the anxiety from the Manchester City crowd every time Manchester United got into their half, because they know that they can't. I mean, even near the end, Otamendi gave such a stupid free kick away, Nathan. I don't know if you remember it. I think it was like in the last kick of the match, just outside the box. Just stupid stuff. But they haven't been defending well. Kompany was by far and away the best defender. And with Fernandinho was a very, very good defensive midfield for him. Now, he's injured at the moment, but he's playing at the back, and Kompany's gone. So you're dependent on the defenders that they have, Otamendi and Stones, who are not doing it. So therefore they're not team. I don't think De Bruyne is doing what he did 2 years ago, and Sterling and lately hasn't been doing it. So that's why they're not the team that they were. I mean, David Silva has announced his retirement, Nathan, at the end of this season, which I don't think was a good idea. You know, if you're going to retire at the end of the season, you play your matches and then retire. Like when you announce your retirement, your mind can't be on it in the way that it should be on it. And he's been a great player for Manchester City.
That passage of play you talk about right at the very end maybe summed up a lot of the game with the Otamendi foul on Maguire, and you could see Kevin De Bruyne and just how frustrated he was with Otamendi to give Manchester United the chance. And then from United's point of view,
Nathan, as well, you know, from outside 20 yards and near the end, almost near the end of the game, to make the tackle he made was just he does that week in and week out, to be quite honest. Otamendi and Stones is giving them away, so they haven't defended well at all season, and some of the players haven't been as good as they were last season as well, and that's the reason for it. It's not a question. Sloppiness comes into it, Nathan, but it's a whole approach that they don't have this year that they had last year. Chasing the ball down, getting after the opposition. They did that for the start of the match yesterday, and then it fell away as the match went on.
Would Harry Maguire, if he'd gone to City instead of United, do you think that would have changed things?
Yes. Yeah. I think there's two big mistakes Guardiola's made over the last few years. Not going for Van Dijk when he was available, and then having not learned a lesson from that, not going for Maguire. I can't understand why they didn't go for Maguire.
And do you think
they were talking about the fee? You know, they were arguing about the fee. I mean, the fee at that club, Nathan, when you need what you need, you're probably talking about 5 or 6 million, which is a lot of money to us, Nathan. But to a club like Manchester City, to get the right player, that's not a lot of money.
And from what you've seen of Maguire, and maybe you just can't make the comparison because of where Manchester United are right now, because like Maguire made a few mistakes last night, certainly doesn't seem to have lived up to maybe what Manchester United were expecting. Do you think he would have been a very different player if he'd gone to City? Oh,
definitely. Definitely. First of all, at City, he wouldn't be defending or have to defend as much as he does at Manchester United. It's like Van Dijk at Liverpool tonight. He very seldom makes a mistake because Liverpool are usually attacking. And it'll be the same with City with Maguire. And then you've plenty of time to look around you at the back. You're not under pressure all the time. I mean, there's a lot of the matches Manchester United under severe pressure. I think Maguire would have been a great player, a great buy for Manchester City.
That incident then and that free kick from Manchester United's point of view, I think everybody watching it, when you looked at the players who were lining up and there was Pereira, Fred and Mata, you're thinking this has to be Juan Mata. Final kick of the game. You want your best free kick taker standing over this, and Fred takes it, and it comes to nothing. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said after the game that while Juan Mata is their best free taker, that Fred had been smashing them in training, that this is what Juan Mata had told him. Fred had been smashing them in training over the last couple of days, so they gave the opportunity to him. It just seems like absolute madness.
It's just stupid. I mean, maybe Mata wasn't taking the blooming free kicks in training, you know. So, constantly Fred he's going to knock a few in training, but who does it on the pitch? And the thing is, I can't understand about Mata. He was starting again a sub last night, Nathan. And he's by far and away, in my opinion, the best creative midfield player. Right? And then, as you say, it comes to the free kick. I mean, it wouldn't do Mata any good if he hadn't been picked to start the match and Fred was going to take the free kick. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's just stupidity. And then for Solskjaer, it comes out with some remarkable stuff, Solskjaer, to make excuses, that he wasn't taking them in training. maybe he wasn't allowed to take them in training, you know. But the fact is, on the pitch, when you're playing where it really matters, he's been by far and away the best successful free kick taker, and he's on the bench nearly all the time for the big matches. I just can't see that. But he does come out with some remarkable stuff, Solskjaer, after games. There's no doubt.
A win like that at the Etihad for Manchester United, having had to soak up quite a lot of pressure and getting a goal and a good finish from Nemanja Matic, can Solskjaer take a lot from that he can bring into the final third of the season? Were there signs there that there are some improvements finally at United? I
don't think so, Nathan. I mean, it's not so long ago. Do you remember they won a league match at Old Trafford, at the Etihad as well? And they go, you know, they can get a display like that. I mean, it wasn't a great display last night. It was a good win for them, Nathan, which is fair enough. But this was in a match where they needed to score 2 or 3 goals. You know, the fact is they were still knocked out. But it was a better performance than they have been given in recent times. But that's what they've done. You know, against some of the top teams, they win and then they go to one of the bottom teams and lose. The inconsistency is there at United. I mean, they've had some good wins, Nathan. But then, you know, sometimes against the top teams, then they go against the bottom team and lose. So it's consistency that you want.
Is that all down to the midfield, John?
Night, all right. But it's a match that they won 1-0, but it's not 3 points. It's not enough to get them through to the final of this particular cup.
How much of that is down to the midfield, and maybe that will change with Bruno Fernandes coming in, because after weathering the early storm where they could barely get a touch on the ball, when in that second half, as you say, as the stadium was getting a little bit nervous and City suddenly found themselves on the back foot, United had a lot of possession in the City half, but couldn't seem to create a single chance. Didn't have one player of the quality in the middle of the pitch who could just carve open a Manchester City defence that looked like they were there for the taking. Is that, like, when you look at that United 11 or where United are right now, is midfield by far and away the biggest issue?
Well, they've nothing up front either, Nathan. You know, they had Martial up front, who hasn't been doing it. You know, Rashford is by far and away the best forward, and we know he was injured. He couldn't play. But despite the fact that City didn't play well by their standards at all, you know, Manchester United didn't have a chance in the second half. Didn't create a chance, Nathan. Like, I think when I said that the nervousness of the City crowd, you could feel it. But actually, United didn't make the best of it. By any means. I mean, if you look at the second half, City didn't play well, but they had by far the better chances, Nathan, overall.
Bruno Fernandes.
But you know, it was a better performance from Manchester United, and it was a good win on the night. But you couldn't look at it and say, well, they played brilliantly and they're on their way back. Definitely not.
Bruno Fernandes, who's coming in and the deal, it seems, is finally done. Generally at Sporting Lisbon, he's been used as a box-to-box midfielder. Like, he scores a huge amount of goals. He does a little bit of everything. Like, very much tries to run the show from midfield. Is that exactly what they need at the moment?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I've never seen him play, Nathan. I don't know anything about him. They're paying a lot of money for him. And as you say, if he can do the things that you say he can do, well, then he should be a top-class signing for them. You know, you don't get many players now who are box-to-box and score goals and defend as well. They're either one or the other, Nathan. So I don't know, but you know, they've a lot of money to spend, and hopefully for Manchester United supporters that he is the player that you've explained to us now that he is. I haven't seen him.
I'm already fearful that in a month's time you're going to be coming back saying that you said he was a box-to-box midfielder scoring goals, and he ends up being exactly the opposite of that. I'll just blame Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. The other story around Manchester United this week were the scenes outside Ed Woodward's house on Tuesday night, where a group of, we're not quite sure who they were, proclaiming to be Manchester United supporters, were throwing flares towards the house, writing graffiti, just there, it seems, to intimidate Ed Woodward, who has come in for a huge amount of stick because of their lack of transfer dealings and the way Manchester United has been run. But like, this is obviously going way too far.
It's dreadful behaviour, Nathan. If they want to protest at the matches, that's up to them. But to go to any individual's house on the pretext of being Manchester United supporters and they care that much about the club is totally outrageous. Totally outrageous. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't agree with the job that he's doing, but he's doing what he considers to be the best he can, and nobody should should have behaviour like that at his own residence. It's absolutely outrageous. Outrageous.
The relationship, and it's aimed obviously now more towards the directors, but the relationship between players and supporters now, like obviously there's a big separation. Players generally live in secluded, gated communities. When you think back to you were playing, and if things weren't going well and there were poor performances, like, would you see a lot of supporters? Would you be getting abuse when you're walking down the street?
I think it's worse now. I don't remember in my day anybody going to the chief executive's house and behaving the way they behaved. As far as players were concerned, or as a player, no. I mean, you weren't very often walking down the street anyway. That's where there would be supporters. You know what I mean, Nathan? If you were going to get abuse, you'd get it at the ground when you were on the pitch.
Yeah,
that's, you know, I don't remember any players, and I could talk to me about being attacked or confronted walking down the street. Well, I played most of the 12 years at Leeds. If you were in the pub, and I know there was Gary Sprague, the goalkeeper. Now he used to like a drink, and he'd go to a pub. He would get attention,
right?
You know, in the pub, somewhere a few drinks on him. And Gary Sprague was a big lad, and he was a blonde lad. And he looked a bit of a softy, Nathan. Do you know what I mean? And
but he wasn't.
He had a terrible temper.
Right.
If anybody approached him, he'd give them a box before he'd get a box.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If he was out having a few drinks, Gary liked a few, like a lot of lads. He was out having it. But some guys would see him and say, "I'll have a go at that guy." You know, he looks a big softy, and he was anything but.
They'd soon regret it.
Oh, they did. Yeah, he'd get the first punch in. but generally speaking, I'm just talking as a player now. I don't remember coming across it. If I was out, well, which was very seldom, out shopping with my good lady. Anybody approached me to abuse me, or any of the other players that I played with at Leeds in that way. Obviously, if you're playing badly on the pitch, Nathan, well, you know, that's fair. That's fair game, because the people are paying in. They're entitled to their opinion. And if they want to have a go at you, they'll have a go at you, you know. But luckily enough, like most of the time I was at Leeds, we were a successful team, so we didn't get much of that anyway, you know.
Yeah. We need to take a very quick break. John, stay with us. We're going to talk about Liverpool next.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
You're welcome back. John Giles is still on the line. Let's talk about Liverpool, John. Obviously, they had the victory last night, 15 straight league wins, 19 points clear at the top of the Premier League. But the main talking point this week was after the draw against Shrewsbury Town in the FA Cup, which means there's going to be a replay at Anfield. But it's in the middle of Liverpool's mid-season break. So Jurgen Klopp has told his players they could have a week off, not even a training camp. They can go do what they want, and that he's going to play the kids. And not only is he going to play the kids, but he's not going to be there. He's going to give the job of managing the team to the under-21 manager, Neil Critchley. Your thoughts on this? Because Jurgen Klopp, in general, one of the reasons he's been so likeable is that you get the sense he's very much in touch with supporters, that he's sort of aware of what's the greater good of the game. It seems with this, though, he's a touch tone deaf.
Yeah, I'm surprised at it, Nathan. As you say, he's been very, very good for the game. And they're into a replay. And he said he's going to play the young lads anyway, which is fair enough. He's entitled to do that. But what he said, I won't be there. We have this break. Well, you know, I think the players need the break. But I think this is my take on it. I think he should be there with the team. And if they're playing the young lads, then the young lads would love to have him there. I don't think was it when they played Everton at the start of this cup campaign, Nathan? Didn't they play the young lads in the match against Everton early on?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, pretty much, probably the exact same side that will start this.
No, And I can understand him having a break. And he said, "Well, I'm not being disrespectful to the cup." Now, the FA have a lot to answer for as well, Nathan. When you talk about respect for the cup, you know, I mean, in Ferguson's time at Old Trafford, they enticed Manchester United to go and play in a competition in South America. Actually paid them for it, and Manchester United were cup holders at that time. Now, that was totally disrespectful to the cup, and it's gone on since, Nathan. The problem with the cup is that there's no money in it, Nathan. You know, there's no money in it, and but what's happened is that the teams themselves, Liverpool, you know, will field a weakened team, what we regard as a weakened team, in the replay next week or the week after, and. You know, if you're going to win the cup, if you're going to really take the cup seriously, actually, there should have been a full team there the other night to win it, and they wouldn't be worried about a replay. But the cup itself is suffering, and the clubs are, as we know, not just Liverpool, are playing weakened teams. They're not taking it seriously. They're very disrespectful to the cup, and the fans love the cup, Nathan. No, the fans love it. They love going to Wembley for the FA Cup. It's not the fans' fault. It's the FA initially that started the disrespect with the Manchester United situation, in my opinion. And it's got worse and worse since then.
There's obviously a little bit of a conflict behind the scenes between the Premier League and the FA, in that the Premier League have decided to have this mid-season break, whereas the FA have fixed the replays for the middle of it. But when you talk about disrespecting the cup, and I know the long history of it and how brilliant a competition it has been and how brilliant the competition was for you, and like I'm sure some of your best days and most memorable were during it. Like, are we past the stage of being disrespectful? Are we at a stage where we got to question whether there's any point to the FA Cup anymore?
Well, I think it is for the fans, Nathan. You know, if you spoke to the Liverpool fans who are doing extremely well, would they like to go to Wembley for the cup? They'd love it, Nathan. They love it. It's still there. It's not the fans that have disrespect for the cup. It is the Football Association. It is the Premier League. Don't forget, the Premier League and the FA are in conflict with each other. They're two different associations. And that they won't come to an agreement. I mean, I think a lot of the clubs were looking for, say, replays or lack of replays in the FA Cup. And the FA said, no, don't want to do that. Right? The Premier League have no say in that. You know, the Premier League do what they want to do themselves, Nathan. They don't work together. Actually, they work against each other all the time.
Yeah, it's hard to see how it'll work itself out.
What happens is the clubs do suffer, and the players suffer, because there are too many matches. There's definitely too many matches on the players, and that's why Liverpool play a weakened team. And I can understand that, and I can understand club's point of view in doing that. But I think when it comes to this replay, okay, it's the players that want the rest, not the manager. And I think even if it's for the young kids, wouldn't it be great for the young kids if he was there for the match, for the replay? That's right.
It's very surprising. Whatever about, as you say, whatever about the players, you would think as manager of the club that if there's a match on, you've got to be there. Yeah,
I think he was having a go at the people who made the arrangements, Nathan, because a lot of the managers, Guardiola, a lot of them are saying quite rightly, we're playing too many games, and they're going into extra time and all that, and that's why they got the break, but they didn't legislate for Liverpool drawing the match, you know. So, but I think from Klopp's point of view, let the players go on the holiday, let them have the break, you know. And then he wouldn't be he wouldn't come in for any criticism whatsoever for the way with the statement he made last week. You know, the fact is, he said he's going to play the kids. Now, a lot of people would think that was disrespectful, but I can understand him doing that. But be there for it. He doesn't have to go on holiday.
I don't know what else there is to say about their Premier League form. 19 points clear. They could be 22 points clear at the top before Manchester City go to Tottenham in our live game here and Off the Ball on Sunday. Like, it is just a level of relentless brilliance that it feels like never really seen in the Premier League before. As straightforward as you like against West Ham last night, 2-0. Like, there's no signs of this letting up. Do you think...
No.
And I know it looks like they're going to win the title so early, maybe things change. Are you looking at this team thinking they can go through the entire season unbeaten?
Well, they can do, Nathan. It's a lot to ask, as we know. but they're capable of doing it. You know, Arsenal did it years ago, and the way they're playing at the moment and the squad that they have, I certainly wouldn't be surprised. I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't be surprised if they did go through unbeaten. Definitely, because they've got a big squad. They can rest players now, Nathan. You know, they've got the best squad in the Premier League by a long way. So they can rest players. And like if they do go out of the FA Cup or whatever it is, it's not going to bother them. You know, obviously the FA Cup is not a priority for them.
Yeah.
It's winning the league, and I'd say the Champions League in the priority. Don't forget they were away for what was the old League Cup in my day. When Villa beat them, you know, that was a trophy they didn't go for. And like if you look at the match the other day, they played a lot of the young players in the reserve team anyway, Nathan. So it's not part of their plans, I don't think, to win the FA Cup.
One goal.
The league they've been brilliant. They've been brilliant.
One goal conceded, and the big improvement over the last couple of months has been defensively. So just one goal conceded in 9 games since Joe Gomez properly got himself back to full fitness, and Matip was injured, and he struck up this partnership with Van Dijk. From what you've seen, is Gomez a better fit alongside Van Dijk than Matip was?
I think so. I think he's a better all-round player, Nathan. You know, very quick. I think he had a bad injury, and he's obviously recovering from that now. And I think he's a terrific player. And I think they're made for each other at the back there. So Liverpool have been fantastic. And even if they don't go through the season unbeaten, you know, they'll still win it by their 20 points, which is the main thing, you know. So it's like Klopp has done a fantastic job there, and they've been brilliant. And as you say, every match, they're up for every match. That's the way you win the league. It's consistent. It's called consistency, and consistency of effort is the main thing. They don't take any of the what's regarded as the lower teams for granted in any way, and they're not scared of the big teams in any way either. That's the ideal approach, and that's what Liverpool have had, and they'll continue to have that, Nathan, no doubt about that.
You did mention that League Cup game involving Aston Villa, and obviously Villa have gone on now and are going to play at Wembley against Manchester City in the League Cup final after beating Leicester. We spent a lot of time talking about Declan Rice over the last couple of years, and Jack Grealish was the one before that. When you look at where Grealish is now as a player, like, has he exceeded expectations of what you thought he was going to be?
No, I think he's getting there now, Nathan. I think the first year or so, well, 2 or 3 years back, I didn't think he was going to make it. He wasn't playing well. I don't think he was behaving in the right way. I think he had a few off-field incidents, and he's obviously got a grip of himself now. He's a very, very talented player, Nathan, and he is now proven to be, the promise that he showed now is being fulfilled. He's a very, very good player, and I wish to goodness we had him.
Yeah, he does feel like a bit of a throwback. Maybe it's even just the socks rolled down and the tiny little shin guards, but like wearing the number 10 jersey, do you see him as that very much a natural number 10, or is there a bit more to his game than that?
Yeah, he doesn't play in the middle of midfield, Nathan. I think he'd be better in there. He's playing either left or right, but he's been exceptionally good doing that. But I think he has the ability to play in the middle of the field as the midfield general, as they used to call him years ago. He's a very, very talented lad. He's a natural footballer. You know, his control's good. He picks out the right passes. You know, I'd be surprised if Villa will be able to hold on to him, Nathan. Yeah,
because obviously he's spoken himself, even though he grew up a Villa supporter, that if they hadn't been promoted last season, he probably would have had to leave the club. And they're in a relegation scrap, and you'd expect, certainly if they go down, he'll definitely end up leaving. Like, where should he be going? Is he a player who you think could fit into a top 4 side next season?
What about Man U?
Well, they've certainly been linked to him.
Well, you know, he's there. He's doing it for a team that's, you know, wouldn't have the class of players around him as they would at Old Trafford. I don't mean that in any disrespect to Villa, because the man is doing a great job there. But if you're looking at youngish players, you know, he's outstanding in a team that is not like Liverpool or City and that. He's doing it in a team that's mediocre. And doing extremely well, Nathan. And that's the type of players. If you look at a player doing it in Villa, and you can say, well, at United, for example, we've got better players around there, then he's a natural for that particular situation.
John, great stuff. We'll talk to you next Thursday.
Thanks, Nathan.
John Giles with us, 7:30, live in Newstalk every Thursday, and obviously full coverage of all the weekends. Premier League on Saturdays off the ball from 3 to 5 with John and Dan and Johnny, and Damien Delaney with them. And then we will have Tottenham against Manchester City live and off the ball, 4:30 on Sunday. Myself and Gary Breen will be at that one.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.